Just as the science and art of agriculture depended upon chemistry and botany, so the art of education depends on biology and psychology. Today, we will be diving into the life and work of Edward Thorndike, one of the most significant figures in early psychology, particularly in education and animal learning. His work set the stage for what we now understand as behavioral psychology, and many of his ideas still resonate in modern education and therapy. Biographical background: Edward Lee Thorndike was born on August 31st, 1874, in Williamsburg, Massachusetts. Growing up in a religious household, but during his time at Wesleyan College, he left that part of his upbringing behind. This is also around the time psychology was starting to emerge as a scientific field. Thorndike pursued higher education at Wesleyan University, earning his bachelor's degree before moving on to Harvard. At Harvard, he studied under William James, one of the leading thinkers of his time, which helped set Thorndike's path in psychology. After Harvard, Thorndike completed his PhD at Columbia University, working under James McKeen Cattell, who focused on intelligence and measurement, two areas that would later define Thorndike's own work. He briefly taught at the College of Western Reserve, which is now Case Western Reserve University, before accepting a position at Teachers College, Columbia, where he would spend most of his career. Contributions to psychology. Thorndike's contributions to psychology were groundbreaking, especially his work on learning. His research on animal behavior introduced the concept of trial and error learning. He famously used cats and dogs in his puzzle box experiments, where the animals had to figure out how to escape by manipulating a mechanism. The result of this the results of these experiments formed the basis for his law of effect, which posits that behaviors followed by satisfying consequences are more likely to be repeated, while those followed by discomfort are less likely to be repeated. This is one of the earliest statements about reinforcement, a principle that would later become central to behaviorism. In addition to the law of effect, Thorndike introduced the law of exercise, which suggests that more which suggests that the more a behavior is practiced, the stronger the connection between stimulus and response becomes. Think of it like learning to drive. Whether it's a different car, the basics you learned the first time transfer over. This concept of transfer of learning also became a major area of his research. Thorndike and his colleague Robert Woodford showed that learning in one area can transfer to another similar situation, which was huge. The which has huge implications for education, like how standardized airplane controls ensure pilots can switch planes with ease. Thorndike's connectionism theory explained how learning is the result of forming associations between stimuli and responses. However, his attempts to apply these same principles to monkeys weren't as successful, highlighting the differences in learning capabilities across species. One of his lesser known but significant contributions was in education. Thorndike devised methods to measure children's intelligence and ability to learn, and he even developed the Thorndike-Barnhart Dictionary, which made language more accessible to kids. He was a firm believer that intelligence could be quantified and that education should adapt to students' capabilities. Which this idea has seen while this idea has seen criticism, it laid the foundation for standardized testing, still a major element in modern education. The zeitgeist of Thorndike's time. Thorndike's career unfolded during an exciting period for psychology. The later 19th and 20th centuries saw the transition from psychology's philosophical roots to a more empirical, scientific discipline. The shift was marked by the rise of figures like Wilhelm Wundt, and Thorndike's work fit right into this new experimental approach. He was also a part of the functionalist movement, which emphasized studying the purpose of mental processes rather than just their structure. During this time, the Industrial Revolution was reshaping society, creating a demand for practical applications of psychology in education, industry, and social reform. Thorndike's focus on intelligence testing and animal behavior perfectly aligned with these new societal needs. Relevance in today's zeitgeist. Thorndike's influence is still felt today. His law of effect was a precursor to many modern behavioral therapies, like cognitive behavioral therapy, which focuses on how behaviors and consequences are linked. His ideas about reinforcement and punishment are widely applied in classroom management and behavioral interventions. In education, Thorndike's legacy lives on through data-driven learning. His belief in measuring intelligence and adjusting education to fit student abilities has evolved into today's adaptive learning platforms, where technology tailors instruction to each student. While the methods have advanced, the core idea of personalizing education based on performance data is very much in line with Thorndike's vision. But not all of Thorndike's ideas have aged well. His work in eugenics, as well as some of his racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic beliefs, have led to a reevaluation of his legacy. In 2020, his name was removed from the building at Teachers College, Columbia University. While his research was foundational, it is also a reminder that we need to look at historical figures with a critical eye, acknowledging both their contributions and their flaws. Thorndike's legacy in modern psychology. Thorndike's theories remain relevant in understanding how behavior is shaped by consequences, and this applies beyond just education or therapy. His ideas are echoed in fields like behavioral economics and organizational psychology, where understanding motivation and behavior is key. Interestingly, Thorndike's work is also indirectly influencing how we use artificial intelligence in education. AI-powered learning platforms which adapt lessons based on real-time performance data are built upon the very principles Thorndike promoted: scientific measurement of learning and personalized education. In some ways, today's AI-enhanced educational systems are the realization of Thorndike's early vision, though now with advanced technology. Conclusion. In the end, Edward Thorndike's contributions to psychology, particularly in the areas of learning and educational measurement, were groundbreaking. His law of effect and connectionism theories laid the groundwork for much of modern behavioral psychology, and in his work in education, continues to shape how we approach learning today. While his personal biases complicate his legacy, Thorndike's influence on psychology and education is undeniable. His work continues to inform how we understand and measure learning, from the classroom to AI-powered platforms over a century later. Thank you.